Okay, so today we're gonna touch base reality of the remote appointment. So what's going on? Why are we doing that? Why is it important? And the whole idea of different platforms and stuff, and how to use it. How the technology is disappointing us all the time. So that's another topic we're gonna touch base on. Privacy, confidentiality, which is very, very critical in any remote sessions. So that's another one. How you can manage high pressure courtrooms and medical performance. So yeah, we're gonna touch a little bit about the medical, a little bit about legal today, because it's pretty much related to remote sessions anyway. So it's better to just keep it in one day than separate, put it on the 2 days. And eventually, well, hopefully we're gonna have time, and then we're gonna touch quickly the topic how you guys can survive in the 21st century, the era of technology. Hey, good. So reality, remote interpretation, and we're gonna start from obvious stuff that we all know. The most common two modes is the video remote interpretation and over the phone interpretation. So video is the VRI. Whenever you're going to see VRI, that means it's a virtual. If you're going to see OPI, it's over the phone. Another remote interpretation sometimes that can be provided is so-called message relays from time to time, but that's usually related to casual community sessions, so not really involved in medical or legal. So virtual, again, VRI, virtual. Here we are going for visual. For over the phone, we're going for verbal. Now, in both cases, we're gonna face a lot of different problems. In both cases, there is also some kind of preparation needed, and you need to be aware of different platforms that clients are using, how to operate them, how to navigate, how to connect, how to cooperate using those all platforms, right? So starting from the virtual, well, again, if you are providing interpretation, your camera need to be on. So that is something in the medical and legal settings that is pretty much a mandatory. You cannot just run with the camera off. You still need to be present during the appointment, and it's very, very important that your camera is on. It's pretty much the same thing if you are in person and you put a big bag on your head and they're not going to see you. So we don't want that. The reason why is that here, providing interpretation during the virtual appointments, first of all, you can deliver your facial expression. As everyone here before, we talked about the interpretation and how different moods, how different emotions can be delivered, and your facial expression will deliver that. So people need to see you, and it's very, very important. So always keep that in mind. Again, another thing is your body language. So usually whenever there's a camera, let's say we're on the court, let me adjust it. They should see you at least like they'll hear. Body language itself, yeah, it is important, but again, you don't want to just sweep your hands all the time. all around the camera. It's just going to be distracting. Again, your name always need to be provided. You cannot randomly log into appointments where the lawyers, the court judges, or the doctors will see your name as a, let's say, iPhone. No, they don't want to see that. You have to be ready before joining any appointments virtual. Your name need to be provided. Also, if you are working with us and you are joining any appointments virtual that are assigned by us, it's always you can also put let's say STS interpreter, and then you can provide your name as well. Whenever you log in to the court hearings, especially if there are those quick court hearings that are running all day, it's always too good to the first thing to do, open your chat and write in the chat that, hey, my name is Peter. I'm the Central Translation Interpreter waiting for my turn. So the last thing you want to do, joining to any appointments randomly and just announcing everyone, opening your mic and like, hey, I just arrived, what I should do. So yeah, we don't want that. Again, whenever there's a virtual appointment, that visual context is absolutely important. It's a part of the professional standard, and you as an interpreter need to be prepared for this. So definitely, I encourage everyone to double check their platforms. How are you logged in? Are you logged in by your email, by your phone? When we can see that Samsung or iPhone as a name. You don't want to do that. Again, your camera need to be on because everyone need to see who speaks. What is their like facial expression, reaction. They can also quickly see if you are actually involved in the conversation or you're just disengaged from the conversation, doing something randomly whenever people are speaking. So that is also not the best professional approach. That you're gonna join the Zoom meeting or MS Teams meeting, you're gonna start doing interpretation while you're doing your supper. That's absolutely not. You cannot do that. Not the best thing. In medical settings itself, it's a little bit more important because the patient saying I'm fine, you can see them. Also, if they will be on the camera and they're gonna run the camera on the Zoom, you can see if there is like a change in the mood, there is change on their facial expression. So even if they say I'm fine, I'm good, I'm healthy, that's where something can happen. Also, doctors can see that. In legal settings, well, the judges or the lawyers, they can assess pretty well credibility, like visually. So they can see like, okay, so this person is looking professional, is dressed up properly, is sitting in the room, not distracted by anything else. There's their name, and lawyers also can observe reactions if there is a session running and there are witnesses connected or anyone else. They can see during the testimonies how people reacting, and again, it's pretty much almost the same thing as appointment in person. The only difference is that people are on the cameras, right? That's why it's so important to be on the camera all the time during the appointment. So you don't want to start answering the phones. You don't want to have your puppy running around the desk or your cat doing anything. This is a full professional environment, and it's pretty much the same thing as like appointment in person, right? So you have to be focused on that. Appointments over the phone, so all the phone call conversations. Well, the problem here starts with there is no eye contact between the people. Now there is no kind of like environmental awareness, what's going on around you, how people do react to different things. And well, the first thing, it creates the biggest major risk, which is misinterpretation. Misinterpretation of the tone of the speaker. That's one, like you cannot always catch up not looking at the face if the person answering is if they're hesitate, if they showing fear, if they're pretty sarcastic answering the questions, if there's any confusion. So during the phone calls, that is the problem number one, when usually people cannot show that, and interpreters cannot notice that. Also doctors or judges, they cannot see that. And that's why usually phone calls in the serious sessions are they want to avoid that. They never want to schedule phone calls because it just doesn't help that much. Another situation over the phone call interpretation is the one that we talked, I believe, last week in the medical module, whenever we have the ER situation. And now we have all the voices that you can hear from the phone. It's a pretty high stress environment. People are yelling, screaming, people are talking. You have to catch up what's going on very quickly, and you need to follow up right away with the flow of the conversation. So that's where all the speakers overlap all the time, and well, yeah, it's pretty challenging over the phone. That's why ERs usually doing the phone calls if there's actually serious situation and they really need that interpreter to deliver that. Sometimes they try to skip that, make it maybe virtual, or grab someone in person on demand. Sometimes it happens. Probably some of you experience some of those appointments where you are needed right away, immediately, right? Another thing, whenever the speakers overlap a lot, will be the cross-examination. So here we're going back to the legal settings. During the cross-examination, people talk over each other all the time. And that's something where interpreters, again, you have no visual clue what's going on. You cannot manage those turns between the people anymore that well. It's more like kind of like you are totally blind and you're guessing like what's going on. For interpreters in legal and medical settings, it will be challenging. Whenever you guys doing the WCB appointments over the phone, that's a little bit easier because here usually we have only two people speaking, which is the case manager and the claimant. It can happen, a couple more people, but not always. In medical and legal settings, yes, there might be a lot, way more people involved, and that's where you can lost like the whole flow of what's going on. Another thing that is hard to predict, and like you cannot figure it out right away, is the problem that you don't know who actually speaks, right? Is it the lawyer number one? Is it the lawyer number two? Is it another person speaking? It may be in the medical settings. The patient may be a male, and suddenly there will be a family member that's going to be a male as well, and now they're going to speak to each other, and now you can lose focus, and now eventually you're gonna do not know who speaks now. So that's something that can again make a lot of problems. So phone calls even if interpreters somehow prefer that lately, I'm not sure why. A lot of locations is skipping remote sessions. They just simply can't work in those settings because it doesn't help. So in reality, right now that we are currently living in both legal and healthcare sessions, it's not that convenient anymore. Now, if we look back to the past, remote interpretation was fine and was pretty doing well and growing during the COVID. So whenever was the COVID situations, probably you guys as the interpreters, you were pretty busy doing all the remote sessions. It was just better, it was safer during the pandemic, so it was very convenient for everyone. But it created a lot of problems as well. So eventually now, year by year, there's less happening remotely, and more clients are going back to in person because it's just help. It just help with accountability. It helps how you can see everything, how you can actually provide interpretation based on the visual. And that's what also helps during the court hearing trials or medical appointments, right? So if I go back to the healthcare service, again, in healthcare appointments, remote interpretation is kind of directly tied to the patient safety and what's going to happen next. So let's say if we take, for example, AHS, the Alberta Health Service, there's an appointment, let's say over the phone, we have some little bit of chaos here and there. The language barriers are again there. People are speaking each other. So now you have to eventually gonna be in that spot where something can be misdiagnosed. There can be some errors in the medication, interpretation, dosage. Definitely some critical information might miss at some point, because no one is actually focused on the session. Everyone are trying to kind of listen over the phone and try to figure out who is speaking, what's going on, and how to react to the situation. So it's I would say kind of like a very sloppy, lazy procedure. And the appointments over the phone, if it's not scheduled and people try to reschedule, let's say in person appointment to remote phone call, that is something that everyone really hesitate to do. A lot of interpreters are always saying oh, I can't go to the appointment today, but I can do it over the phone. Well, not exactly. It's not going to work like that anymore. It's not the same thing. So you as an interpreter need to keep in mind that the phone call interpretation is never going to be the same as appointment in person, and not going to be accurate in the same way. And in the legal settings, again, there's a lot of questions that might be misinterpreted, a lot of different challenges. And the last thing that you want to do is be in the middle of that, because eventually you will get lost and it's going to make problems, right? So so that's something that you have to keep in mind, because eventually the worst case scenario during any phone call interpretation, so the people cannot see them. Let's say you're going to lose the signal. There's a very poor audio quality. People are yelling, accents are involved. Now, if people speak all of them with their own accent, there's a lot of questions or answers that we missed. If we go back to the legal settings, again, the accused cannot see the judge cannot see the accused, interpreter cannot see anyone. Lawyers cannot look and see if the interpretation is accurate or not. The audio quality is terrible. Sometimes interpreters decide to like just, oh yeah, it's just a casual, it's just a phone call, I don't care. I'm gonna drive and talk. Yeah, you don't want that, absolutely not. As far as I know, I guess it's illegal also. So whenever you're doing a phone call interpretation, please stop your car. Never be in the car, never drive, do not be busy. It will just keep a distraction to you, and you don't want that. So we have to be aware of that, how to work with them, right? So in both settings, remote sessions, even if they're convenient, again, not something that the clients really like and try to avoid all the time. So keep in mind that even if you guys are working with us and we want to schedule in person, it's always that's the first idea that is coming from the requesters. Remote sessions are like very, very last option that they sometimes they even prefer to reschedule the appointment and have a phone call. So that's how serious it is at this point. Platforms. So some of you are already doing appointments, some of you not. Some of you had an experience using the platforms, maybe during the pandemic time. Some of you maybe are using them on daily basis. So right now, most of the clients is using the platform Zoom. Number two is MS Teams. Those are the top two currently. Google Meet is another one, and I believe there's a couple different also options that people are using. So you as an interpreter, you have to be prepared for that, and technically you need to have all those platforms, all those applications, either on your laptop or on your computer or on your phone. We're actually going to get back to the phone option. So all the platforms are over there because, well, usually they're very convenient. So a lot of AHS appointments currently is cooperating, like let's say the healthcare appointments, they use their platform, they have their own screens, their own monitors in the rooms when they connect interpreters right away. Some of the locations, some of the hospitals or clinic, well, currently, yeah, they don't have it yet, but they have like a separate rooms, for example. So all those sessions using like the platforms, they have a designated areas for that most of the time. So the Zoom itself, definitely healthcare. So AHS most of the time, community service, WCB again. They're using Zoom a lot. Any admin situations, hearings. So all the casual community sessions usually are done over the Zoom. And that is number one, that you as an interpreter need to have it. It need to be installed. It need to be updated. And you need to be ready to go pretty much at any time. If you will get on-demand call or something like that, you have to be ready for this, right? Another thing, it's very useful because they have the thing called breakout rooms, and that's where they can like separate the rooms for people, and it can also be helpful, right? Now, the thing is, the problem with the Zoom, there is a lot of situations that people are not muting themselves and they're randomly joining the appointments. And now, let's say if the judge is speaking, the doctor is speaking, the other participates pretty much don't understand or don't respect the microphone discipline during those appointments. Now, whenever you join the Zoom, you are automatically most of the time not muted. And if you will not mute yourself and now you're doing something, and yeah, sometimes like if the judge is speaking, now they hear you doing something, it could overlap. Again, distraction for everyone else, right? Um, Another thing for Zoom is whenever the community sessions like WCB appointments are happening, very often people are just treating this more like a casual meeting. So that's where the problem is. Like, oh yeah, it's just a Zoom. I don't have to be ready. I can just, talk from my phone in my car with the name iPhone, for example. And it doesn't work like that exactly, because if you're going to move from the community service to healthcare or legal, that's where you have to be aware whenever you're logging in. It's very important that they know who you are and how do you uh, perform during those appointments, right? For the Microsoft Teams, here is more. I think the government is using a little bit more. So any government services are using more of MS Teams. It's a little bit more control environment, I guess. They have a better options. Um, and they also using the MS Teams because it's way easier for their internal softwares or systems or computers whenever they're using. Um, Another thing, it's way more stable if we're talking about the connection than Zoom. So it's a little bit helpful. So especially if there are special court uh, appointments or immigration, that's where you might expect that you will get the link for MS Teams. The problem is that whenever the people are switching between each other, so let's say the judge or the doctor says, now you have to translate that, so now you have to unmute yourself. That very often can lead to a little bit of lag where it's just stop under the freeze for a second. And well, there's not much you can do about this because that is just the problem with the platform, right? So just be aware that whenever you unmute yourself in MS Teams, it's always good to like unmute yourself and don't speak right away. Just give it like a second or two, and then start to speak. That then you'll be sure that like nothing was missed from the beginning of your sentence, for example, right? So that can help. Another one, which is well, not the biggest one, but there's one more that called Interpreter Manager. That is another thing, but it's like not very often used by our clients. It's good to like for whenever they're managing any booking, they like doing this as a communication platform for staff. So the audio is still there, but not the best one. So not everyone are like that. People usually stop using that at this point. Another one is the language line. So yeah, that's one of this over the phone situations. Here we have a pretty like the high speed and stuff. So that's where your emergency healthcare situations are happening. ER, police, government hotlines, let's say any call centers. So that's where you have the urgent care, like those immediate access to that, and the language line is that platform when with pretty accuracy and high speed, you can connect quickly with everyone, and it will help most of the time, right? So that's something that also can be different. For the legal sessions, there is a platform named WebEx. Currently, WebEx is usually used. Clients that are working with us, it's usually the Saskatchewan courts, Ontario courts, and sometimes British Columbia is using WebEx as well. So this is usually used for all court hearings, tribunals, like any government proceedings. That's where it's a little bit more for the actual formal appointments where there is a speaking order, where the audio is a little bit better as well. And it's just preferably, I believe the coding is also better. And regarding the privacy, the platform is also a little bit better. So usually the government, like the court, is using those things for any like the longer appointments, like the court hearings or trials or something. So again, it can be very helpful for that. Eventually, we have the old and good Google Meet. So we have the Google Meet. Again, that's pretty much mostly for community service. Not really used by medical or legal. I haven't noticed that, like, never, ever. It's usually done by community service, or sometimes we're doing that at the office if we just need to quickly schedule a meeting with someone. It's a pretty like easy access, very minimal. There's not much you have to do. Just quickly create the meeting, and you can quickly join that. The problem with this was I know that the audio is usually pretty bad. Like it doesn't work that well. There is no moderation in that. So again, it's for the quick chat. Usually, it's a little bit too casual for actual interpretation, right? So Google Meet is fine, but it's more like just a quick chit chats, and that's it. Not really something that will be used by the court or medical settings, right? So basically, yes, if we're going to all the platforms, you also need to be aware how is your internet working. That is another thing that is very critical. You want to be sure that your connection is stable, that you don't have people in the second room might be downloading now something, and you will start losing the connection. So you have to be sure that you are the main person using the internet. Cable, again, way better than Wi-Fi always. Like for me personally, the same thing. At my home, I'm only using cables everywhere. I barely use any Wi-Fi. So I just don't trust Wi-Fi. If it's gonna rain, the weather will be bad, something will happen. You never know what can happen. Cable is more stable, and you can trust it a little bit more. So definitely, if it comes to the internet, you want to be on a cable most of the time if you have to, if you can, of course. If you have to use Wi-Fi, there's no other option. Be sure that you are somewhere close to the router, to the modem, so you're close that you don't want to have like 5, 6 different walls between you and the actual router where you have the connection. Like every wall, every obstacle is reducing the signal, so keep that in mind. You want to sit somewhere close to that. Again, if you do an appointment, any virtual appointments on the Wi-Fi, and now you're not sitting at home, the last thing you want to do be in a car. Absolutely not, especially for medical legal sessions. If you'll connect from the car, let's say to the court hearing, to the trial, and now everyone's going to see that you are in a car, and you are driving, yeah, now you're making another crime. So, and you are just actually showing it to everyone. So don't do that, please. For medical session, again, you don't be in the car. Um, Another problem that is whenever you will be in a car is that there might be someone else sitting with you, and it doesn't actually matter who is that. It can be a family member or a friend or anyone else. But if that person will be noticed during the virtual appointments sitting with you, uh, the appointment might end. And the first complaint that's going to come to Sandal Translation is that there is a privacy policy issue. Because now the person going to hear the whole procedure. The person is actually actively involved in listening to the procedure. And that is something that is absolutely against the rules, and that's a breach of contract. And if you're working as an interpreter, you might lose a job because of that. So do not allow anyone, even if you say maybe there is just a kid in the car with you, whenever you're providing that, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Do try to avoid that. The same thing if you are sitting in the room, and there will be anything noticed, a movement, a voice from someone else, not yours. If there will be any proof of a third person in the room, it can happen again. You have to be absolutely alone. You cannot. You have to shut yourself away from the world. You need to close the door to your room and focus on the medical legal session. There is no conversation in between. Now you're gonna talk to your family member when you're just gonna mute yourself, but you forget to turn off camera, and now you're gonna talk to them, and the judge or the doctor, they're gonna see that you're speaking to someone during that. Again, they can kick you out from the appointment right away. So it's very important, very, very important that you have to be alone because of the privacy policy and the rules of medical or legal, right? So that is something that is absolutely important. Of course, doing any appointments remotely, accuracy, again, that's your best friend. So no speed ups, no, if you do not understand something, you cannot hear something clearly, ask to repeat. Don't summarize, no guessing again. Don't make a confusion for all the parties. You have to be still accurate. So it's still the same rules apply as appointment in person. Now, if we're talking about the ethics during the appointments remote, well, confidentiality here, that's where we're talking about the privacy policy. So the problem is, number one, everyone else around you will listen. They will hear what you are speaking about and what is going on in the procedure. Let's say using the speakers, or you rise up the volume, and that exposure is over there. So you have to be alone. You have to be alone, and you need to know that you are in a secure environment. So that is something that will not break the rules. So regarding confidentiality and the privacy, it's very important. Even if you're doing WCB sessions, they can still complain that there might be a conflict because now, let's say a family members are running around at the house or something, and you are distracted talking to someone else. Especially when you are muted, that's where the problem is also, because now they don't know what you're talking about. So, and they can accuse you for, telling the story about the case, right? So you don't want that. For the confidentiality, you must to assure the people that nothing will go out of the room. Again, you during the appointments, you still have a right to make notes. As an interpreter, it's just something that, yes, you can still do, but you have to tell that people. If it's virtual, just show them your piece of paper that, hey, I will be to the notes. If there's a phone call and you start thinking, okay, that phone call might be too complex and I need information written down, you can tell them I will use the notes, but also you need to tell them that you will destroy the notes at the end of the session, and those notes will not be provided anymore. Right? So again, that's something that must be, you must say that. Another problem for the ethics is how you're going to stay neutral. So again, in this case, a lot of situation, even if you are acting professionally, you're sitting in that room alone. Well, the patient's not exactly going to sit in the room alone. So now you will be having, again, your best enemies, which is the family members in this case. They're going to start talking to each other. They will be more aggressive. Now, during the remote sessions, it looks like people try to have, they act like they have a little bit more power or try to be a little bit more smarter than the doctors even or the lawyers. And that's what is happening. So during those sessions, you still need to be focused. What are the priorities? You are still interpreting everything as it is. Continue your work. Don't worry about that. Try to filter family members. You have to show them that you are not breaking, like you do not now asking to help or to do something. So stay neutral. Again, don't panic. Don't go aggressive on them. It's just something that usually people do over the phone or virtual sessions where they feel like they have a little bit more power over a doctor or legal people, right? For accuracy, again, if your audio, you will start hearing there's a problem with your audio, check out your headphones, check out the speakers. If it doesn't work, be sure you're gonna ask to clarify, to repeat if you cannot, if you're gonna miss anything. In this case, again, because it's a virtual, it's a little bit more challenging. That's the challenge number one, which is the audio and the quality of the voices, right? So you have to be prepared for this. Another thing that you need to be prepared for, well, interpretation remotely is kind of exhausting as well. So because now your effort to hear everything, so listening, that skill of listening is now working harder. Visuals are different, right? So there's a lot going on. Technical stress, okay, if I'm gonna lose the internet, what now? If my computer gonna start burning, what now? So a lot of situations are happening, and maybe it's not like physical exhausting, but mentally it will be. It's for this level, if you think about this, it's a little bit more challenging and difficult than actually just standing there in person and providing interpretation. So so that's something that you have to keep in mind. So yeah, that's how it works when it comes to the platforms and how to work with different platforms and different environments. So you have to be just assured like what's going on, right? Hi. So hopping to the biggest problems. So if we're gonna expand on this, if you think about this, the old school interpretation service is using the three main major things, right? So use your eyes to look, see everything, use your ears to hear everything, use your mouth to speak everything. Eventually, there's your presence as well to show that you're a professional. Now, in any appointments remotely, it doesn't work like that anymore. So, and a lot of people are not prepared for this. Let's say if now there's a poor audio, and the doctor doesn't understand what you're telling them. They might have problems. Eventually, they might file complaint like, "Hey, your interpreter just don't know what they're talking about." Um, and for any audio, like audio degradation itself, the problems with audio, it's happening a lot. It's happening a lot, and especially if you use the Zoom or MS Teams. WebEx is a little bit better for that. But for Zoom and Microsoft Teams, especially for the Google Meet, that's the casual one, terrible. You have to be aware that there will be some audio problems. Whenever you're going to speak, they cannot hear you. Whenever they're going to speak, you might not hear them everything, right? So that's something that you have to be aware. In the medical settings, well, the impact can be absolutely critical. So any whatever you will mishear or miscommunicate, it will change the diagnosis. Now, if there's anything that you kind of hear like blurred and you cannot understand everything, maybe now you kind of make a misunderstanding with the patient, and the symptoms are different. So there's a lot of those errors where all parties together not realize. It's not just that right now I'm just hitting the interpreters. No, it's not. It's also the same thing for the doctors, for the patients, for everyone involved, especially if there is more and more people involved. If there is just three of you, it should be fine. But if there will be more people involved, it's just going to make it harder. And for you, it will also be very demanding and mentally challenging as well to handle now everyone. They will probably not listen to you if you tell them, please speak one at a time, because now over the phone, everyone wants to do what they want. So that's the pretty much the biggest problem. You lose that power that you have during appointments in person. You cannot be the manager anymore. Even if you try, you're a manager without authority. So that's something that you have to take under consideration. Now, if we're talking about the, again, connection and stuff, so the biggest problem is whenever let's say there is a virtual session and now your video will froze. Like it's totally frozen, you cannot see anything, you stopped, there's a huge lag. Maybe suddenly you had an appointment and in the middle of the court hearing, you're going to see a huge window on your screen that, hey, now we're providing the Windows updates that will take, let's say, 45 minutes. Your computer going to freeze, eventually going to shut down, start resetting, and will start to do updating for 45 minutes, and you cannot do anything about that. So be aware. I recommend everyone who is using laptops or computers for video calls. If you are not using it very often, at least turn it on like once every week or twice every week and just see if there are any updates that are coming up, and that will take time. Because the last thing you want to see that you're going to log in for 12 o'clock appointment, it's 11:55, and now you're going to have a 45-minute update coming up from the Windows. So yeah, you don't want that. Now, the problem with the connection is that it calls the packet loss. So that's where the packet loss is the packets that you're using when you are kind of like a downloading. So keep in mind that everything that's coming to you, it's pretty much your software, your system need to download. So in the real time, that voice, that screen, the pictures, everything is like a one-to-one uploading that and downloading all the time. So all the packet loss that will be involved in that, those are those tiny pieces. If there is a speech happening, some of those pieces of the speech might start disappearing. And sometimes probably some of you have seen sometimes videos or maybe YouTube videos or something, wherever people are speaking and they're like this like 0.1 second, like just a gap, just gap. People speak nothing, speak nothing. So that's where those packets get lost. And sometimes if there's a valuable information, then people will there's a statement, you're gonna start losing that. So that's where your internet is affected, and that's where the problem starts. So be prepared for this. Again, ask for clarity, or ask if you have to, if you have a problem to hear anything. A lag, well, that's the delay between you and the people over there. So again, let's say you have a Zoom meeting with Ontario, something is on the line happening, and again, there is a lag, and you guys gonna, let's say maybe the people are moving, mouth are moving, but the actual voice is coming later on, it's going to start making a problem. That's what can also lead to those micro video freezes, wherever it is going to stop and not do anything. So again, you have to keep that in mind. So whenever you want to do virtual sessions, be sure you have a good internet. I mean, 2025, I guess we all have a good internet these days now. It's not like dial-up anymore, like it was in the 90s, but still you have to be sure that you have a good internet. If you are using a laptop, again, it's a Wi-Fi. Be sure that you are in a stable place somewhere close, right? You don't want to be in the middle of nowhere or in the forest or doing somewhere away from your router. So that what is very, very important. Other than that, well, the biggest problem is also the equipment itself. So again, your headset, maybe it's broken, maybe the cable is broken, maybe now you're just going to hear the right side, not the left side, maybe the microphone is broken. Maybe you did not set up the proper volume and the voices, so now you're going to start hear like their weird echo on the back, and there's maybe the sounds is not the best one. So there's a lot of things that can happen. So be sure that whenever you want to be involved in the actual, let's say, mostly remote sessions, you need to have a good setup, a good microphone, a good headset. That's something that eventually, well, you will have to invest in, and it will be important for you, because the better equipment you have, the better job you can do. So just that's something that you have to keep in mind. Other than that, again, it's not only just the headset. Well, what if your computer will gonna start go crazy? Maybe it's overheating, maybe it's slowing down. If it's overheating, maybe it's gonna shut down at some point. So be sure that you do not run any additional application, or you're not watching the movie at the same time that you're providing the interpretation. Everything can lead to that. In the laptop, again, be sure that your batteries are charged. If you're not using a cable and you're on your batteries, you be sure that it's charged. Like it's a full 100% charged laptop, and you are sure that this battery gonna stay for, let's say, 3 hours or 2 hours or 6 hours. You must be absolutely sure about that, right? If you are not sure, just plug it in. Have a cable on. Do not let it shut down whenever you'll be in the middle of the appointment, right? So your equipment is important. It's absolutely important. And again, another thing, you also need to know how to operate your equipment. You need to know if there is a problem with your equipment, how to just check it out. Maybe there's some minor problem with the volume or with the screen. Just be sure that you can handle that. If there's anything happening with your internet, be sure like how your router operates, how your modem is operating. If you have to reset it, anyone can do that. Probably just pull out the cable, plug it in, But at least know where is that thing located at your place. And like, what is it? If you are not, let's say, very technical tech person, that is totally fine. It's not a mandatory for anyone. But maybe your kids know, or maybe your family member know. So be sure that at least something like this, you are aware of that. Like, oh yeah, there is that little box that delivers the internet, and if something will happen, it's good to reset it, right? So it's gonna be very, very helpful for that. So just be sure about it. Again, the biggest problems are usually the internet. So whenever you're gonna stop, like, you're gonna lose the connection, and now you have to reconnect there. Well, whenever you're gonna reconnect, just add to the chat that, well, I'm sorry, I just got disconnected randomly. It's not gonna happen only on your end. So it's not just I'm talking about interpreters, it can happen also on the other side. So let's say it can happen at the court, right? They're gonna lose the connection. Maybe the law office, like, they're gonna get a blackout, gonna lose the power, and they're not gonna have the internet. So if it's gonna go opposite, like if it's not on your end and it's on their end, again, don't panic. Stay connected. If something will happen, they will reconnect to you. So don't just randomly, oh, okay, it's done. No, it's not. It's not done. If they lose the power, if they disconnected, just give it a few minutes. Just wait there. All right. Another thing that can happen. Well, those are your phones. So I know phones are very handy, very common these days. We're all using our phone all the time for all the tasks. But for the appointments, like serious legal sessions or serious medical sessions, I still recommend to use a computer with a camera or a laptop with a camera. The phone is just a little bit too casual to provide an interpretation. And it also kind of like looks silly a little bit, because people can actually see right away if you're on the phone or not. So that's something that can happen again. Again, from the other side, the phones are not designated the same way as computers. And yes, maybe you're gonna start losing the voice, or now you're gonna start losing the signal, and something can happen. So again, for that issue, like the audio connection, right? That can just bring a little bit more problems than the laptop or computer. So definitely, I'm not forcing to, but I recommend to use actual good equipment whenever you're providing the virtual sessions to the court or to a serious medical appointments, right? All right, privacy. So now the privacy, confidentiality in those settings, I just mentioned that on the beginning, but if you're doing appointments in person, confidentiality is pretty much built inside the room already. Like, you guys are just sitting in the room, there's no one else, no third party or someone running around. So, and that place is already kind of privacy, confidentiality safe, right? That's your safe spot. That's the triangle you're in. If there are family members involved, yeah, that's fine, but they're still under the same rules. Same thing for the court, legal sessions. You're at the law office, that place is already privacy confidential. For the courtrooms are closed. Now, if you are doing appointments remotely, you are losing that. You're losing this right away. And it's not that confidential anymore. Again, if you're sitting in the car or you're sitting in the park, or now you're gonna decide to do the appointment from the restaurant, like, yeah, everyone can hear that, whatever is happening there. Everyone gonna hear maybe not what coming from the clients. Maybe you have a headset, but they're gonna hear what you're saying, and now you're affecting the entire meeting. So you have to be aware of the how serious it is, right? And that this will be impacted. Now, another problem with confidentiality and privacy is not exactly you just providing the appointments. Now, the problem is that, well, maybe you will get a virus. Maybe, something will happen with your equipment, and now your data is exposed to all those problems. That's the same thing, what is coming mostly, maybe not exactly from the interpreters, but from the other side, wherever we have the requesters, the law offices, courtrooms. We hear all the time, like, hey, there was, let's say, 50 million accounts on Facebook was just leaked on, right? The hackers did this and that, the virus, this and that. So there's a lot of situation, especially if we're talking about the government places, medical, legal. So all those very, very like strict professional places, whenever there is a leak or something has happened or the data is exposed, that's where the privacy is gone of the people, of their clients. So it's not only on the interpreter side. I will even say it's a little bit less on the interpreter side, because now you only have to control what you are doing during the appointment. But from the side of the actual clients, those are the files, documents that they are storing in their database, and those things can be affected as well eventually. So if they have to download something, upload something during the sessions, if they're going to start sharing the slides, they're going to start sharing the reports, that's where those things can be leaked as well, right? So that's the problem that is still happening. And yeah, in all remote kind of settings, it will happen. So there is something that I guess we have not much that we can fix, right? Again, if you are doing appointment remotely, be sure that you are not connected to any other device. Also, be sure that you are not streaming anything at the same time, or you're not you're maybe on the laptop providing interpretation, but on your phone right behind, you still are running the conversation with a family member, right? So again, that's where that can be exposed, right? For your better good, whenever you have your Wi-Fi system connections, be sure it's all secured. You have a passwords for that. No one gonna get in, and it will not affect you. Any unauthorized recordings cannot happen. So that means you as an interpreter, definitely you cannot click randomly record. You cannot do that. You cannot do any screen sharing of the sensitive documentation or any documents, any reports. So don't do that. Of course, I trust you, but that's for the training purpose. You have to be sure that everything stays with you, whatever is shared during that, right? So just be aware of the situations. 21st century, yeah, we are in that digital era, but a lot of problems can happen in that. So that's something that you have to be aware of. Not only for interpretation, also for your private life. So we hear a lot of stories like your credit card numbers are stolen suddenly, you don't even know when. So yeah, a lot of situations just happen. So the most kind of professional standards that you can operate during those appointments remotely, again, you have to it's the most private thing you have to do. So you have to stay away from everyone. Close yourself in the room. Don't sit in the car. It's preferred the room. Stay there. No unauthorized people. You cannot have people around you. Even if you would just say, oh, it's just a kid, no, you cannot have it. It's still affecting the role. It might sound a little bit harsh, but well, those are the rules. So, and the court or the hospitals, they are following those rules. So, just keep that in mind. Again, don't pets running around the camera like your cat or dog. You don't want to be in front between you and the camera. That's something that should not happen. Very important. Do not use public Wi-Fi. If you are doing appointments virtual, do it from home. Do it from home. Definitely, you don't want to sit in the park and now use the public Wi-Fi, because anyone can connect to that as well. So be sure you are not doing that. So that's pretty much like a golden rule of your standard, to not do it from the public Wi-Fi. Now, whenever you joining the sessions, you have to be prepared that you will not be let in right away. So kind of like you are joining our Zoom, and let's say it's 3 p.m., but yeah, Peter is not letting you in there. Well, that means probably I'm doing something still, or just trying to figure out stuff and just getting myself ready. But don't panic. Sometimes the court will not let you in for the 10-15 minutes. You are just sitting there. The thing is that a lot of court appointments during the day, if you are scheduled maybe for like a 40-minute session at the court, maybe it's just a quick questioning, keep in mind that those are the provincial stuff going on. So let's say if they're talking about traffic issues, not attending the court, maybe just a quick stealing stuff, or like we're talking about all the minor situations. So for those of you who were at the court, probably correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of cases in the same room. There can be like 20, 30 cases per day in the same room, and now there is a case, okay, dismissed or not, case dismissed or not, case dismissed or not. So that means if you're scheduled for remote session and you will be part of that, you might to wait for your turn. So let's say you were scheduled for for 9 a.m. Sure, the client is there at 9 a.m. They're sitting in the courtroom, but before, just because they schedule him for 9 a.m., it doesn't mean that his case is at 9 a.m. Yeah. So there can be like 3-4 different cases before your client gonna hop in. And believe me, whenever your client gonna hop in, they will allow you. They will give you the green light, and then you're gonna see like, okay, now you're on the screen, right? So that is the part of that standard. Whenever you're joining those sessions virtual, it's always good to right away write in the chat your name. I'm the interpreter for the case number, this, and that, right? And now the court clerk who's watching the chat all the time, because there might be like 100 different interpreters in the line with you also for virtual. So the court clerk gonna see that, okay, so we have Peter for this case, and now he is active. He's on standby. So do not like turn it off. Don't shut down your computer. Don't say like, oh, they didn't let me in. No, it doesn't work like that. So they will not let you in because there's probably 2-3 cases before you, and other interpreters are in line virtually. So instead of connecting everyone, like I'm connecting you guys now, imagine if now everyone here gonna enter, just show up your camera and everyone gonna start talking. It's gonna be a pure chaos, right? So they have a chaos already in the courtroom. That's what is happening. There's already 100 people over there. So the last thing they want now have a chaos on the virtual side. So don't panic. Just be prepared. That's what usually is the procedure, and that is like the standard procedure for those hearings. If we go to medical session, again, the same thing can happen. Maybe they have a problem with their software. Maybe they have a problem with their equipment. So I'm usually telling the interpreters, just give it like 10 minutes. If we're talking like time versus money, you are still getting paid for your minimum time anyway. And at this point, if it's your minimum time or it's your cancellation time, it's equal. It's the same thing. It's the same timing, right? So it will not change anything. You are still getting paid for that time. So don't panic. Don't worry about anything. Just give them those 5-10 minutes. Let's say for the 10 minutes nothing is happening. Give us a call. Just call our team and check out with them. Maybe there's an update on that, and then they will tell you, okay, you can stay and wait, or okay, it's done, it's canceled, right? So that is something that you can definitely keep under consideration. So if you will disconnect by yourself and you were like, oh yeah, there was no one for 5 minutes, so I just finished that and I'm done. Well, eventually they're gonna call us and say like, hey, where's your interpreter? Because they were supposed to be on standby, they're not on the standby. Well, it's a no-show, right? So it will turn against you. And we had those situations whenever interpreters were assigned, and let's say there was the phone call was late for like 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes, or they supposed to wait in that virtual, but they were not aware of it, and we're calling them like, hey, so they're waiting for you, and now interpreter is telling us, well, but I went to the store, so we can't do anything now. So yes, if you are still booked for that minimum time, I would say just be patient. Just be patient. Don't panic, because that appointment will happen. So just be aware of that. Another of your professional standards that you have to be prepared for is the general awareness of the situation and what is happening. So again, in those remote settings, you have to be aware of what's going on. So where they are sitting currently, are they all separate, or they're all together, or are you gonna provide interpretation like right away to them? Let's say if they're all together in the one room and you were just providing the interpretation to them, that might be easier than actually providing interpretation separately. And in that case, just be sure that you know like what's going on, right? In legal settings, again, you have to be aware if this is like how many people is involved, if they're all on separate computers, if they're sitting in the same place. You have to understand the proceeding, what is going on, if it's a court, if it's a trial, if it's something else going on. And try to figure out right away the authority, who is going first, who speaks first, who is who, and that will kind of help you to like, guide the entire appointment, and it will just help you to adjust a little bit faster than this, right? For the ethics, well, again, it's kind of the same thing as like appointment in person, so the ethics stay the same. Whatever we were talking in the last 2 weeks regarding interpretation itself, everything stays the same. The only difference is here, you're not standing in the room in person, you are just doing this remotely, right? So you have to just be aware of that. How does it work, pretty much? All right, let's hop in quickly to those high pressures and what you can expect. So in high pressure situations for both court or medical, you have to be prepared that there is same thing like in person. You need to be aware of the context, if it's like cross-examination, if it's not, if it's just a follow-up with the doctor or not. So again, usually I'm trying to find the information as soon as possible. And I'm doing that usually 24 hours before the session, that I will send you if it's something easy. If it's not something easy, if it's a criminal or a very high tense, high pressure session, usually you will know about this a few days ahead, so you have time to get ready for that. If we were just talking about the random court hearing about the speeding or stealing or something that you can pretty much handle by yourself very well, I'm usually providing those information 24 hours before. So again, if you will get a reminder from our office 24 hours before, and suddenly you're going to see email from me, don't get mad. I'm sorry, but it's just part of the procedure. The reminders that are going from us to you are done, generated by the system. And that's something that is going to every single interpreter who's going to work tomorrow. I'm the person who is taking care only for legal appointments, unless there's a serious critical appointment for medical. That's where I can also help. But mostly I'm focusing on legal stuff where I can help. So if we're talking about the high pressures, I will be the person who's going to help you out. And we're going to get ready the glossary. We're going to get ready the charges, how everything works. And now you're going to hop into the Zoom meeting. Again, don't expect there will be a phone call. It's something very rare. It's, I would say, out of 100 cases, maybe one. Usually they want to see the interpreter. You have to be active in that. So just be aware of that. Please have your camera on and your name on. It's very important. No nicknames, no different weird names. You need to have your full name whenever you are hopping to the court. So they have to know that you're the person, right? Now, during the appointments, high pressure sessions at the court, you will be aware that there is a lot of things that will make a problem to understand everyone. Phrasing, how people speak, maybe their microphones are not that great at the court. Maybe they're too far away from the microphones. So there's a lot of different situations, and you have to keep in mind that every single little micro problem or mistakes you're gonna make or they're gonna make, it will affect the entire hearing, the entire trial, right? So even if you are 100% prepared for the session and you are good to go, everything works fine, well, maybe something will happen at the court, and now you will have a trouble to hear them. You will have a trouble to feel that actual courtroom environment and how they're proceeding, because suddenly you cannot hear everyone. And now you might to make some little mistakes here and there in the interpretation, because maybe you heard something wrong. So be aware that in those high pressure sessions, you have to be absolutely alert. Absolutely alert, even if you have your headset on, there might be something that might be missed. So again, do not be scared to ask for any clarification. Do you need a help? If you need a time, that is very important, that the interpreters need to report that right away. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, the thing that will also not gonna work with you very well is how you're gonna start managing those messages from people. Let's say you are now used to it, to have this memory discipline during appointments in person, for example, and you are absolutely good to that segmentation and chunking in person. But now here, it's gonna start making problems. Maybe you're just not used to it, and it will gonna make little problems for you. So now you're going to join those high pressure appointments at the court or at the hospital. People are going to start talking. Your interpretation will not go that well. So again, in this case, try to find a good alternative for yourself. That's where the notes will be handy. That's where you can make the notes. Since you're on the camera, they can see you, so you can just show them that paper and tell them, like, yes, I'm going to make the notes. And you have to be also aware that if something is not exactly said like how it's supposed to be done, you can like ask for that. You can correct them, like, you did not hear something correctly, or you want to be sure that this is exactly what they said, right? So that is the, like, yeah, those sessions are a problem for everyone. It's not going to be just for you. And since you are used to it, like, you do appointments in person way more often, uh, again, it's going to be something that you need to practice. You need to be more comfortable wearing the headset, working with the software, with the platforms. You need to know how to navigate those platforms, especially if you join the session and now people are going to start talking, and now suddenly you cannot hear anything, and you're like, well, my headset is working. What's wrong? Um, well, maybe your application is on mute. Maybe your Zoom is on mute. So be sure that if you cannot check it by yourself, maybe someone that can check for you. If you can ask for help, someone who has more experience in the tech, in the software or programs or hardware, that's something that can help you. Because I mean, I'm catching myself a lot that maybe I muted one of my application yesterday, I need it today, and suddenly, like, oh yeah, it doesn't work for me. So what's going on? And that's where I'm gonna start remembering, okay, I did that yesterday. So it happens. It happens. So just be sure about that, because eventually, if you have those high pressure appointments, there'll be no time for this. There'll be no time, because you have to, like, when you're gonna hop in, they're gonna connect you. That's where you start your work. And if it's something happened, it just doesn't gonna look good. That, well, Your Honor, sorry, I have to fix my computer now. So before joining any high pressure sessions, you're aware of that. Be sure that maybe just try to turn on your computer 30 minutes before that. Just double check everything, right? Another thing that will be a little bit different probably is how you're gonna react emotionally. So now you are, in this case, it might be a little bit more friendly for you, because maybe you're just gonna see a patient and a doctor. Now you're not gonna see the family crying in a corner. Now you're not gonna see the people involved. For the court hearing, again, it's a little bit more confident for you, because you will not see all those people behind you, the observers. So that's where you're not going to be that overwhelmed. Now you're going to just pretty much, your camera will be directed into the judge, for example. So that is something when the emotion is going to work a little bit different, right? I believe it might kind of, you're going to feel a little bit more natural, probably relieved. There's not so many people watching you anymore, right? So it's something that will help. That's probably where people are feeling more confident doing that, because they don't have to be involved in a situation where all those emotions are involved and all the people are involved, right? So that is something that will help. From the other perspective, you will not see the actual emotions of, let's say, the witness. That is, for the court, that can be a problem, because you will not be able to read that person. You will not be able now, whenever you practice how to read witnesses, whenever they feel pain. They're talking about the abuse stuff. There is death involved in that or something serious. Well, those things might be skipped for you because you will not be affected by that anymore. And also your interpretation will be different and less emotional than it's supposed to be done in person. So that's it's kind of like a pros and cons in this kind of situation where the emotions are involved and where actually people are going to start talking. So that's something that you have to be aware that now you're going to kind of switch from the mode of looking at people to not looking at people, right? So just be aware of that, how exactly that's that gonna work for you. Another problem that can happen is that loss of the turn authority. So in this case, again, you are not the manager of the room. Well, you are a manager, but no authority. So you don't have that much power anymore whenever you participating remotely. If you are doing appointments in person, like, and you're sitting in that room, you can kind of still decide, provide the information to people and tell them how it's supposed to be done. In remote sessions, it might not happen. It might not happen, and they will just simply not allow you. There's just so many people speaking, so many people doing things, so they would just not allow you. So that's something that you have to quietly fight with. I mean, you can always try. You can still go with the same procedure, the same protocol that, hey, on the beginning of the session, not exactly for the court, but for medical sessions, yes, you can still tell them, please speak one at a time and stuff, and just kind of mark your presence and your role in that session. But how that gonna work? Well, you're gonna see yourself. For the court hearing, yeah, you don't have to say that usually. Most of the time, a good 99.9% of times, judge will be on your side anyway. So the judge is usually on the side of the interpreter whenever it's an interpretation remotely, and they understand the struggle, they understand the problems. So whenever there will be chaos happening in the courtroom, the judge gonna slow them down, and they gonna stop them down. So in that case, you are still the active participant of the courtroom, but pretty much that manager role will be now belong to the judge. So since they pretty much know what they have to do with them, so that's something that will be different. So there are some little bit changes here and there if it comes to the remote sessions, right? I lost stuff. So like I said on the beginning today, you will be affected a little bit more when it comes to mental, and you will be exhausted a little bit more because now there's a little bit more going on and you have to be focused on different things, right? So I kind of came out with three things. So like the pre-session control, which is kind of like you understand what's going to happen, um, and you have to be aware of the procedures. So again, sometimes I'm the person that's going to help you, sometimes not. Sometimes you just get the rough information, but you have to also be prepared for those appointments. So now you know that, okay, so that's going to happen. Let's say in 2 days, trial, courtroom, virtual, people involved, uh, different approach from your end. So kind of like that's how you have to switch, right? Um, and because it's can be so complex, be sure that your video works, your audio works, softwares are done, updates are done. 24 hours before the session, it's always good to double check everything, right? So all that pre-session control is a pretty good thing whenever you're going to get ready yourself. So same thing like you're getting yourself for the appointment in person, it's tomorrow. You still need to be sure that, okay, I have to be there on time. Probably I have to drive to the highway or something. I have to leave earlier. Well, I have no fuel. I have to go to for the gas and stuff. So pretty much the same thing. Still, there's that pre-session stuff going on, but in this case, it's going to be a little bit different, and you need to prepare yourself a little bit different, right? So just be aware of that. Communication rules. So in this game, so now you are not, since you are not in the room, it's not in person anymore. So the biggest problem is that that's where you lose that role, right, of the manager anymore. So you cannot set up those rules anymore. You can try, but it doesn't work. Sorry. If it's a remote environment, just be aware that that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to work. So you are not making the rules. All right. The last thing, well, how you can manage the end session and after the session. So again, it's way easier for you if you're just gonna take some time off, just rest after that high pressure session, virtual. I mean, even if it's in person, the same thing. We talked about this. Well-being is way more important. So take time for yourself. That resilience is important. So definitely you want to detach yourself away from that. Don't think about the case. If everything went pretty smooth, everything worked from the system software, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. If you provided a good interpretation, again, you'll be fine. Now, the problem here is that a lot of interpreters doing like appointment in person today. So run the WCB from 9 to 10. Suddenly they have a legal appointment from 11 to 12 or 11 to 3. And suddenly after 4 o'clock, they doing another appointment. And then at the end of the day, they're doing a phone call. So just keep in mind that you're just a human and your brain is operating all the time on 110%. Just keep that in mind. For all those 4 appointments, you were in 4 different appointments, 4 different settings. You provided 4 different, totally different sessions, for example. You are affected mentally and involved in 4 different dramas of 4 different people's lives, right? Maybe some dramas are less effective, some are more effective. So just keep that in mind and set the boundaries for yourself, how much you can do per day or how much you can do per week. Again, I know it's a work. We all need to earn something, but also you have to care of yourself. You don't want to feel burned out after a month or 2 and suddenly like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like it anymore. Well, a month ago you liked it, and now because you burned it out, yes, you're not going to like it. So a lot of those situations when you as an interpreter, you're pretty much affected by all those people around you, 2, 5, 10, 20 people that you had a contact in that day. Just keep that in mind that in the long run it will affect you. So especially if you want to do a random phone call in the morning and now you go into the court for a high pressure, like, I don't know, a crazy sexual assault court case, and after that you have a WCB physiotherapy. I mean, Sure, if you feel you want to do it, I mean, I cannot stop, but that's something that just keep in mind that at the end of the day, it will affect you eventually. We're just human. So if you feel like, yeah, it's too much, set yourself boundaries. If it's too much for you, something, um, there is no consequences whenever you will say no to the appointment. So like no one gonna do anything about that. No one gonna get mad and no one gonna punish you. If you will say no, I don't want to do any more appointments today, that's totally fine. So just keep that in mind that you are just a human, and you are involved in a lot of different situations and people's statements. And that fatigue will eventually gonna come out at some point. So take care of yourself, rest whenever you can, um, because you are too important for everyone to lose you. Okay. So rest and rest and rest whenever you can, away from, especially if you're doing a few different high pressure appointments, in person, virtual, in person phone calls. Um, keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Questions, concerns, comments. Fine. You guys don't like me anymore. All right.